Hello and welcome to Pearls of Paradise. My name is Courtney and I'm coming to you from Parma, Ohio, where I live with my husband Mason and all of our yarn. Today is Friday, January 16th, and I am so glad that you're joining me in my very snowy corner of the world for some knitting and crafting chat. If you are new here, a huge welcome. I'm so glad that you're here and you're checking out the channel, or you've recently subscribed. I really appreciate you. And I so deeply appreciate all of my returning viewers as well. Welcome back. Welcome to my little cozy living room. Really quick, the elephant in the room. Yes, my Christmas decorations are still up. No, I do not care. They are bringing me joy. And right now, the world is on fire. The US is a kind of a crazy place right now. And my home is my place that I find joy and I find peace. And right now, all the Christmas things are bringing me joy. It is still quite dark outside when I leave home in the morning for work. It is pretty much dark when I come home as well. So the extra lights, the coziness, it is bringing me joy. So that's why they're still up. Most of them, and that's okay. Makes me happy. You can find me all over the internet on Ravelry, Instagram, Storygraph if you're interested in what I'm reading. I'm most active on Ravelry and Instagram, but I've kind of not been on there as much either. We also now have a Discord group, which I'll talk about in a second for the podcast. But yeah, those are all the places you can find me. Please like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube things. Yeah. And if you can share, I am so close to 500 subscribers. My channel will be, I think, 4 years old, in July. And I just would love to, reach 500 well out of that. But yeah, so welcome. Let's chat real quick about our make-alongs going on. If you recently found me, you probably found me through someone else talking about the Giant Mini Mal 2026. This is, I believe, the third year that we have done this. It's a year-long make-along, and the goal is just to use up your leftovers, use up some minis, use up some scraps, all of the things. I personally am I focused on this last year, and I'm really focusing even more this year on working through my stash. I just don't have space for any more yarn at the moment. And quite frankly, I don't really have space for a lot of the yarn I currently have, so I am knitting through it. And I am trying not to purchase a ton of yarn this year. I do have an advent that I know will be coming at the end of the year that I will want, but I need to knit some stash. So I've been running this make along for 3 years. This is, like I said, year 3, with the hope that it will inspire me and inspire you to use up your leftovers, use up your mini skeins, whatever that looks like for you. We consider for the make along, the royal we, it's me, consider a mini skein or leftover to be what is the word I'm looking for? The starting skein, ball, hank, cake, whatever. It needs to have at least one in the project that when you started weighed less than 50 grams. So for example, if you use a 20 gram mini for heels, toes, and cuffs on a pair of socks, that counts. If you have like the world's teeniest ball of worsted weight yarn and you use it on a sweater for bind off on the cuffs as a pop color, that sweater counts. Or if you use that in color work, a mini skein, that counts. If you're using a 50 gram ball that you purchased that's new for a project, that doesn't count. If you used a little bit of that 50 gram ball in something else and it now weighs 49 grams, and you use it in a project, that will count. It's pretty loose. I'm not the make along police. So just be honest, it's all the honor system. But it's just a way to inspire you to use up those little bits, those leftovers, those mini skeins that many of us have. So don't feel like you need to go out and purchase mini skeins. If you want to, you're more than welcome to and use those. But if you are somebody who's like, I don't have minis, that's fine. Use your leftovers, use your scraps. It's all good. So that is Make Along 1. It's being run over in the Pearls of Paradise Ravelry group. Hop over there, check it out. There's already, I think, 4 at last count finished objects in the finished object thread. There's some chatter going on. It's a great spot to go over and get some inspiration and, chat about our fiber art that we love. So that is the first thing. The second Make Along I'm running is, I don't even remember what I called it. I think I called it like the super duper loosey goosey sweater mal or something. I actually need to go back and rewatch my previous podcast because I set it up and promptly forgot about it. It is exactly what it sounds like. It is a very loose, maybe it's a garment mal, whatever. It's just knit some garments, crochet some garments, whatever. We're just having fun and getting inspired to use up some sweater quantities or whatever. It's super loose. I am just doing pattern prizes for both make-alongs this year. Yeah, super chill over there. So check that out again in the Ravelry group. And then I want to mention somebody else's knit along really quickly. Bobblehead Knits and Mandy Vaughn Knits are doing the Yarn Stash Smash 2026. It is like so well thought out. Mandy bought an internet domain. So there is yarnstashsmash.com. It might be yarnstashsmash2026.com. I'll link it below. I will link both of their channels below. But basically, they are like using up stash this year, which aligns with a lot of my goals. So feel free to double dip. Feel free to check that out. Yeah, it looks like a really good time. I'm excited for it. So go over, check out their channels, and consider entering that if you too are working through your stash, as I know quite a few of you are. The last thing I want to circle back to is that Discord group. So after my big whip episode last week, I put in a total of like a 10-hour day on podcasting things, the Ravelry group, updating my Ravelry project pages, all my project notes, all the things, and setting up this Discord group, which ended up being much more challenging than I thought. I have a Discord group I set up with some friends, and apparently it's a lot different when you're setting up a Discord group for your Disney Dreamlight Valley friends who all work together than, a community kind of group. So it took me a while to set it up. And by the time it was all said and done, I thought about what kind of time and effort I want to regularly put into this chat. And I want to chat with you all. One of my goals is to get in there at least once a day to chat, talk about what I'm working on or see what you all are working on and keep that conversation going. What I don't want to do is expend my time and energy on bots and trolls and nonsense. So I was going to originally just have an open link. I'm not doing that because I don't want to spend my time on that. I want to be doing my fibercraft or talking about fibercrafts or reading or whatever. I do not want to be fighting the trolls. So if you are interested in joining that group, it so far has been such a wonderful place for me. Several of us are in there chatting away pretty frequently. I'd love to get some more people in there. It is a great group. If you'd like to join, reach out to me. Either shoot me a message on Instagram or on Ravelry. Those are pretty much the 2 places that I'm checking messages these days, other than the Discord chat. So all of that is the best way to get in contact with me. Just let me know you want me to add you, and I will send you an invite link to the group. That was a lot of stuff to talk about. I didn't expect there to be that much. Last thing really quick. I know last year I sort of experimented with different ways of sharing my rating and literally none of them worked. So I am bringing back just the reading section at the end. There's a couple of reasons why. We'll talk about that when I get to that section. So back by popular demand will be what I'm reading, and that will be, after all the crafty things. All right. This is 10 minutes long. This is ridiculous. I'm going to start talking about the knitting. So without further ado, what I'm wearing, I knit this, I believe back in 2024 is when I finished this. And this is the Even Easier Eyelet Yoke by Knitatude. I knit this using loops and threads. I want to say it was like cozy wool or something. And I knit it using a US size 15 needle, and the size sweater was the extra large size. It's just a really simple top-down eyelet yoke. Because you are using super bulky yarn on size 15 needles, it goes so fast. I believe it's meant to be cropped. For me, it kind of hits right at my hip, which I have no torso. I have the shortest torso. So most cropped sweaters end up kind of hitting longer. I don't know. It's fine. I like a longer sweater anyway. So I love this. It is very, very snowy outside. We had about 24 hours between Wednesday afternoon and Thursday afternoon where it just snowed here. So much snow. It is a cold, cold day. This is the perfect sweater. It's super, super cozy. So that's what I'm wearing. I have 0 finished objects, and I do not plan on having finished objects probably for some time. Although who knows, I could come back next time and have a bunch. I don't know. But right now, my focus is on I put my notes underneath project bags. There we go. My focus right now is really on my Learn to Knit a Log Cabin blanket by Staci Perry. I started this blanket back in either late 2019 or early 2020. It is my oldest whip. It has been on the needles for far too long. And you knit these, I can show you. You knit these squares. I am using all worsted weight acrylic scraps or rescue yarn. And I decided I want my blanket to be 5 squares by 5 squares. So I need to knit a total of 25 squares. When I showed this on my whip parade episode, I had 10 squares completed, which equals less than 2 squares a year. That's absurd. We are getting this done in Q1. That is my goal, is to have this blanket done and off my needles by March 31st. I am in someone else's Stash Down Make Along Instagram chat group. I was in there last year too and did not make nearly as much progress as I wanted to. Last year was just not my year, but that's okay. We're getting back on the horse this year. And the suggested quarterly goal is to knit a blanket from Stash or finish a blanket from Stash. And this fits the bill. So since I last saw you, I have completed 2 squares and I have a 3rd square on the needles. In order to finish this blanket by March 31st, I need to knit 8 squares in January, 7 squares in February, and join the whole thing and do the border and stuff in March, because I know that's going to take a long time. And yeah. So I finally, yesterday, made this a portable project. I have enjoyed picking just random scraps out of my baskets and bags and stuff where I have them. And I realized if I want to get this done, I need to make it portable. So this was the first square that I finished. And I love how this came out. This one has been run through the washer and dryer, and all of my ends are woven in and clipped. There's the back, just in case you wanted to see it. So that was the first one I finished. And then the second one I finished, the ends are woven in, but not clipped. I like to weave in my ends, run it through wash all of my projects, wash and block them however that looks for that project. And then once they're dry, clip the ends. I just find that it, for me, keeps ends from popping out later on. And I don't know, the yarn like fluffs up. It makes it more secure. I think sometimes the fibers grab onto each other in that process a little bit, which just makes them more secure. I don't know. There's the back on that one. So that's the second one that just needs run through the washer and ends clipped. And then this is how far I am on my third square. And no, these ends are not woven in. I do a square, then I weave in the ends after the whole square is done. I am pretty pleased with my progress. I'm pleased that it's January 16th and I haven't abandoned it yet. So that's good. But realistically, today is the official halfway point of the month, and I am not halfway through my squares, which tells me I am going to really need to buckle down over the next couple of weeks to get these squares completed. I'm now picking the scraps out for a square, putting them in my project bag, and that way I can take it on the go. So a little bit less random, which is a bummer, but that's okay. At this point, we just need to get it done. And that's all I have to say about that. You will be seeing a lot of that over the next couple of months. So we'll see. All right. Next up is the Advent Mini Scarf by Lizzie Schreiner. I cast this on October 1st. It was supposed to be my October project. That didn't really pan out. You can go back and watch previous podcasts to find out why, but we are back on it. So I choose, if you're new here, because a lot of you are, I tend to, when I knit mostly on the go, and when I choose what I'm going to take with me each day to work or wherever I'm going to knit, I use random number generator. I just assign a number to each project on my Ravelry page, random number generator, and whatever it picks is typically what I take, unless it's not a portable project, and then we roll again. And it chose this. Oh no, hang on. Oh, there we go. It chose this a couple of times. I ended up with this for knit night and then one other day. I am knitting this on a US size 5 needle and using the Fangirl Fibers Hocus Pocus Halloween Countdown. And I got from where our little witch friend is helping us keep track. I finished up this mini and I knit this entire mini skein as well. I mean, not the whole mini skein, but like that whole section. And yeah, I'm really liking how this is turning out. It's very easy, very memorizable. I can knit on this and carry on a conversation or read a book or whatever. So that has been super lovely. I am really enjoying it. We will go ahead and move the Progress Keeper. Full disclosure, this is my third time attempting to record this. I just wasn't happy with the first 2 times. And I realized after my whip parade, my intention had been to move my Progress Keepers, and I really didn't do that. So I'm going to try and do that now. But a couple of them, at least one of them, I already moved because I recorded already, but whatever. So next up is the Hygge and Hearth Advent Scarf by Samantha Troia. It is living in a Christmas bag because this was my Advent project this year. This was my countdown Vlogmas project. So if you were around for Vlogmas, you have seen this quite a bit. And this bag is by J&J Craft Co. I don't remember who my Avengers bag is from. Let's see. We're a little bit tangled here. Okay, I know I didn't move my Progress Keeper on this. I have not moved my Progress Keeper on this since like day 8 of Vlogmas or something. But this, oh man, it is getting so long. I love it. But this is it. And I am on colorway, the 13th one. It is called People Mover. I can't remember if this colorway was already in here when I last showed you. It might have been, it might not have been, but this one is definitely new. I did this one just this week. I still have a ways to go on it. But I am going to move my rainbow progress keeper up here now so that we can start keeping track. I think with Vlogmas, I got out of the habit of moving my progress keepers all the time, and I just forgot. And several projects I've realized don't have progress keepers, and I usually have some in my Notions pouch, but apparently I had used those or brought them home or something. So anyways, there we go. So our sparkly rainbow has been moved up there. Yeah, I am really loving this project. I am a teensy bit sad that I will be working mostly on my log cabin blanket because I really want to keep going on this. But, you know, I of the two, I'd rather have the log cabin blanket done first. So who knows? I may end up taking this with me to knit night or something. We'll see. Next up is the Simple Skip socks by Adrienne Koo. These are living in a bag by Molly Klein Design with all of these fun little gnomes. And I am knitting this out of Patons Kroy Socks FX in the colorway Cadet colors. This was my winter solstice cast on. And they're supposed to be a Christmas gift for Mason, but he doesn't care when he gets them. He got other stuff for Christmas. It's fine. And it's hard to see the pattern on the sock. You can kind of see it. It's a textured pattern. Just the nature of the colorway. It's kind of this like, I don't know what you'd call that, barber pulled or marled color. The pattern doesn't show up super well, but that's all right. I don't really mind that. He doesn't care either, so it's all good. And I got from Kirby and knit the rest of the leg, put in the heel, and I have picked up for the gusset and begun the gusset. So not bad progress on this sock. I would love to have these done ideally by the end of winter so that hopefully he can get them worn at least once or twice. I really don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll see. I'm enjoying them. I wasn't anticipating really enjoying knitting this pattern with this yarn, but I am really enjoying it. So not a lot to share there. Oh, I need to move Kirby. We should do that. We should do that so that we don't forget. And I am going to go ahead. We'll just move him up a little bit here on the top of the sock. Now that I'm back to knitting in the round, we can do that. So, all right, he's been moved. Isn't he adorable? I love him. Yeah. So that's all I got done on that. A lot of these projects just got a tiny bit of work. I took them to work one day or something. I feel like I have not knit a ton. Looking at this, I got a lot done, but I don't feel like I've knit a ton since I last saw you. I don't know. Maybe I have, but I've just felt a little distracted several days and things like that. And when I talk about my embroidery after I get through my next couple of whips, you might see why I got less knitting done as well. All right, so next up are the streamer socks by Penny Moon. These are an unreleased test knit. So unfortunately, you can't get the pattern. I test knit these several years ago, really liked how the pair that I test knit for myself fits, but then they never released the pattern. And I've done that for a couple of different patterns where I've tested them or have knit a sample for them, and then the pattern was never released, which is kind of a bummer. But I am just using my tester version of this pattern because I love how it fits to knit myself another pair. So all I did, this was the only one I think I moved the Progress Keeper on before. We've got this big ship on here that just wants to turn. Look at that. We're just sailing away on these socks. Yeah, all I did on this was pick up the gusset. So moving the Progress Keeper, it wasn't even in the right place anyway. But that's, I think, all I did. I think I had the heel in on these already. I'm pretty sure. I'm almost positive all I did was pick up the gusset and add in markers and do maybe one round. I did not do much on these, but I did work on them. Progress is progress. I don't know why picking up the gusset has become the thing that I don't want to do. I'm not sure. That's just, I don't know, something. I am knitting these on a US size 1 needle, doing 64 stitches, and the yarn is HanaMadeIt Reliant Sock. She no longer dies. And the colorway is Berner. Berner. I don't know if that's a reference to something or not. If it is, I obviously don't know. But yeah, I love what the yarn is doing. It's fun. And that's what's going on with these guys. My last knitting whip is living in my Evolutions Christmas bag. This was, I think, need to swap my notes around here. Yes, this was my December 1st sweater top cast on, which is how the super duper loosey goosey whatever that is garment val got started. One of my 2026 goals is to cast on a garment on the 1st of every month. I started that back in November of 2025, so I don't know if I'll just go through October or November of this year or if I'll take it all the way through December. We'll see. But it'll probably depend on how many garment cast on quantities I even have. But living in here is my Love Note by Tin Can Knits. I am knitting this on a size US 10 needle, and I am knitting the size large. I am using leftover Drops Kid Silk. I don't remember the colorway. I have this and I think one other leftover of that that I got from a viewer. And then I also have Knit Picks Aloft that is in a very, very similar, if not almost identical shade of purple. And I'll just switch to that because whatever. And I am using leftovers from a cardigan I knit years ago. This is Tina's Twisted Fibers Ultra Fingering Base, I want to say, and the colorway Butterfly Wings. And I have several leftover partially used balls of this. And this is what I have so far. Again, I didn't get very far. I don't think I have a Progress Keeper on this one, so I need to add one. Yeah, I did, I think, a few rounds. So it's a little bit more than the last time you saw it. And you can see now sort of the fabric and the color. And I think it's always so interesting how much mohair can change the look of yarn. So there's the original, and then here it is knit up with the mohair. And it's definitely softening it. It's creating just a lighter fabric. I don't know. It's really, really pretty, and I love it. And I want to work on this more. But again, we'll see if and when that gets more work done. If it will eventually, but it may be a while. So that's my Love Note. Not a lot to say about that one either because I just knit a few rounds. That is all of the knitting that I have. I do have my embroidery project. So, story time. If you've been around here, you may know that occasionally I do what I call a dice day. And if you don't know what that is, that's where I will decide one day, usually on a weekend. I did this several days when I was off for a long stretch of time over the holidays, where I just have a day that stretches before me and I struggle with deciding. I have so many hobbies. I struggle with deciding what I want to do. Sometimes I struggle with getting done the things that I actually have to do, all of that. And I just love to take the decision-making portion out of it. So what I'll do is in the morning, I will sit down, and I will choose 6 things that I want to do that day. So, like it might be knit, play Disney Dreamlight Valley. I might want to go for a walk. I might want to sew or embroider or read, or sometimes there's chores on there or larger home project kind of things, reorganization kind of things that I want to do. So I will pick 6 things. I will list them. And then I just spend my day rolling the dice. So I will assign a number, 1 through 6 to each thing, and I roll twice. So the first roll is the activity, and then the second roll is how long I do the activity for. So let's say I roll knitting, and I roll again, and I get a 3. So that means I will knit for 30 minutes. And then when that 30 minutes is up, I'll roll again, and let's say I get a 5, and that's sewing, and then I roll and I get a 6. So I'm gonna sew for an hour. And I set a timer for whatever that length is. It helps me have a really balanced day. And it's getting me out of scroll holes. One of my other personal goals this year is to be on my phone significantly less. Particularly, the doom scrolling got really bad last year. Really bad. And I don't feel good when I just sit there and scroll. I just don't. It has its place. Occasionally, it's like I just want to numb out and scroll for 10 minutes, or I just want to see what's going on Instagram, and half the time I wish I hadn't. But yeah, that's one of my personal goals. So am I going to be perfect about it? No. But a dice day really helps because it keeps my day moving and it keeps me doing things that are not sitting there scrolling on my phone. All that being said, last weekend, I did both days as dice days. And I might have even done dice days the weekend before, I think. So I've done a lot of dice days, and I have rolled embroidery so many times, which has been fabulous because I have really fallen back in love with it. So I've been doing for, I think, almost a year now. For like 10 months, I've been working on this mindful making embroidery kit. And I am delighted with my progress. If you have been around a while, you know that this really stalled once we started losing light after summer. But I have my embroidery mojo back for sure. So I am done with this green color. I finished all of the green, and this piece is really coming together. Well, this green, there's another green that gets added in either, I don't know if that'll be next, or if I will do, if you can see, I'll need to do a light pink on some of this, and then I'm going to be done. I only have 2 more colors, and then there's a second pattern in this kit. You can kind of see right there. So I will have to figure out how to finish this guy off, what I want to do with it. I really would like to have these hanging up in our bedroom. But I love it. I am obsessed with it. It's one of those things where I'm like, I can't believe I'm knitting this, or not knitting, embroidering this. Like, I can't believe I did this. Like, what? I had barely touched embroidery. Like, I had done a couple of teeny little things or started something and like never really progressed with embroidery until I think March of last year, or April maybe. I don't know, spring of last year. And this is my second, like, real true embroidery piece. And I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. So let me show you the back, because people never show the back. And some of us are beginners and need that. So this is what the back looks like. And I don't know if this is a good back or if it's messy. I don't know. I think it looks pretty okay. So I'm going with it. I don't really care. But that's that. There are a couple of spots that are messy. Like up here, I can tell you is like something's happening there. But again, I have improved so much. I have figured out better ways of doing things with this. So I am really enjoying that. But yeah, thank you, Dice, for all of the embroidery rolls because that is coming along. So that is it for the crafting portion of the episode. So if you are not interested in reading or life or anything, that's cool. I'll see you next time. But if you are, let's get into the reading. Okay, so we are back to what we're reading. Like I said, I tried several different things last year, and if you were around last year, you know that it didn't work. It just didn't, nothing was working. So we are trying something new yet again, and I think this will work. It aligns with my whole staying off my phone goal. It aligns with all the things. And I'm not just doing this for you guys, I'm also doing this for work a little bit. So full disclosure, I started this right before I started recording, so we don't know if it'll stick yet or not. You can follow me over on Storygraph. That is the way to keep up with what I'm reading on a regular basis. And if this doesn't work out, then that will probably be the only way. But I started a little reading journal. I am not typically a journaler, so I don't know how well this is going to go, but I figure these are really small pages. And there's not a lot of pages, so we'll see if this works and I want to upgrade to something larger. I will. If this works and I want to keep a small notebook, I'll grab another small one, whatever. So what I'm doing, which also I had started like apparently back in 2022, I started like listing podcasts I was listening to and stuff. And that apparently lasted for all of 2 minutes. And I forgot that this existed. That may happen with this. I don't know. But I am just listing the book I'm reading as well as the genre, when I started it, when I finished it, if I read it in print or audio, how many stars I gave it on Storygraph, when the book came out, because I think that that's important to know when you're evaluating and reading a book, and then either a little blurb about the book or what I thought about it or whatever. That's all it is. I think that's pretty manageable. And part of why I'm doing this is because my manager at work, we partner with our local access television station and do little library highlight things each month. And she asked if I would be willing to go on, once a month or every couple months or whatever, whenever it came up, to talk about what I'm reading. So I said, sure. And I filmed my first spot yesterday. And I was really nervous, which I record all the time. I've been doing this for 3.5 years. I don't know where, I don't know. I was very nervous. And I realized for me, talking about books is a little bit different than talking about knitting. And I want to be careful not to give out spoilers or anything like that. So you guys are going to be my guinea pigs, my test, my practice, if you will. Although this will be much more informal, but this will be helpful. So I will have notes about what I read, because I also returned the book that I was going to talk about yesterday in the morning. And by the time I went to talk about it, I was like, oh, I shouldn't have returned it. And I went to grab it and it was gone. So that did not work out. It was fine. It was probably very awkward, but it's fine. So without further ado, we are going to not only talk about what I'm currently reading, but what I have read prior to today. And then I need to figure out a way to, well, no, I'll figure it out. Anyway, let's dive in. So the first book that I finished this year was Murder with Peacocks by Donna Andrews. And hopefully I'll be able to pop pictures of the covers in too. It is a cozy mystery. I started that on December 30th of 2025, finished it on January 6th of this year. I read the whole thing in print, and I gave it 4.25 stars. It came out in 1999. So that is something to kind of keep in mind, especially I find with the cozy mystery genre, is that they are coming from a different perspective, and sometimes there's stuff in there that they handle very differently than we would handle it in 2026. Just very different times. So basically the main character, Her name is Meg. She ends up as the maid of honor in 3 weddings in the same summer. And all of them are taking place in her hometown of, I think, Yorktown, Virginia. And it is a cast of eccentric characters. The characters are so lovable. This was funny. There were bits of humor. Of course, there's a murder. She's in her mother's wedding, her best friend's wedding, and her brother's wedding. Those are the 3. So she and all of these brides are like absolutely wild. They all basically are like, here, plan my wedding, do everything, which is bonkers to me. Like, that is way more than normal maid of honor should be doing. Like, she's like literally doing the whole thing for all 3 of these people. But anyway, so her mother's fiance's former sister-in-law, are we following that? Is murdered in this book. And Meg teams up with Michael, who's new in town, who is filling in at the local seamstress shop. His mother is out of town due to health stuff or whatever. He's filling in. This also happens to be where everybody's getting their wedding dresses and bridesmaid dresses and all of that. They team up to kind of solve this murder mystery. Everyone in this book is just quirky, and it's honestly, I enjoyed it. I will say, again, it's a product of its time. They address body image very differently than I would, or I think most of us would today. And the main character, which I find that this tends to be a thing in a lot of cozy mysteries, she is like really judgy. She's super judgmental, and can be a little bit mean, honestly. And I don't know, this just seems to be a general cozy mystery trope. I don't read a ton of cozy mysteries. I mostly read them this time of year for whatever reason. And yeah, I feel like a lot of them tend to just be a little bit mean. So anyway, but overall, I liked it. It was fun. The second book I read, going a very different direction, is Trial by Ambush, Murder, Injustice, and the Truth About the Case of Barbara Graham by Marcia Clark. You may recognize the name of Marcia Clark as she was the prosecutor in the O.J. Simpson case, which we're going to get back to that in a second. This is a nonfiction, true crime, historical book. I read this from January 6th of this year to January 10th of this year. I did that one in print. I gave it 3.5 stars, and it came out in 2024. So synopsis, Barbara Graham was a woman in California who was on death row for the murder of Mabel Monahan, and along with, I think, 4 other co-defendants, maybe 3. It was a little bit confusing because people got added and then got immunity deals or whatever. So, anyways, she was put on trial, and back then the law was basically if you were present when a murder took place, you were completely culpable, just as if you had done it. So basically her co-defendants kind of framed her, and while she most likely was present, she probably didn't actually commit the murder. So it's really interesting. Clark kind of looks at the trial transcript and extrapolates from that, talks about how some of the laws surrounding how murder charges are put forth and the death penalty in California and stuff came out of this case, which was really interesting to me. A lot of, in-depth legal knowledge, how the law evolved, just like a decade later. And looking at, was Barbara innocent? Was she guilty? How did the media try her as a woman in 1953, versus her co-defendants? So it was really interesting. Overall, I enjoyed it. However, Marcia Clark just kind of made it a little bit about her and kept referencing her time on the O.J. Simpson trial, which I recognize was probably the biggest event, if not one of the biggest events of her life. But it was a little bit, I felt like sometimes she was trying to make connections that weren't there just to say, hey, I prosecuted O.J. Simpson. It's just kind of weird. Didn't love it as far as that went, but I thought it was a pretty good book if you are into true crime or history or how women were treated by the legal system back in the 50s. It was a decent read. It was really interesting. I just wish she had inserted herself into all of this a little bit less. So that is my first nonfiction book of the year. So there's that. Next up, this is the book that I chatted about on my TV spot yesterday, and I finished it yesterday. The next one is The Last Heir to Blackwood Library by Hester Fox. I don't even know what genre to say this is. This book was kind of crazy, okay? This was wild. It's sort of historical fiction, but also a little bit mystery and also fantasy. It was, yeah, we'll get into it in a sec. I started that on January 10th, finished it yesterday morning, January 15th. I read that in print. It is 320 pages long. And it came out in 2023. I gave it 3.5 stars because it was wild. So it's set in 1925. This woman, Ivy, she's a young woman, like maybe 22. She's poor. She shares a flat and a bed and everything because they can't afford anything more with her best friend. Her whole family has passed away. She's just kind of alone in the world except for her bestie. And she gets a letter to meet with a lawyer and finds out that she has inherited this big abbey in Yorkshire along the moors. And the abbey is now an estate. She gets a title and everything. Like, you know, she goes from being nothing to a big to-do. So she goes out there and it is not as it seems. It's pretty mysterious. The staff is less than friendly, and she discovers that there's a library that they keep locked up, and she loves books. She loves to read. So, of course, she wants the library to be open, and she's one person. She wants to share this knowledge with the townsfolk and share the books. And the more time she spends in the library, she starts to feel unwell. And I don't want to give too much away, but the library is sentient, and it slowly, there's a lot going on. I don't want to give anything else away, but wow, it was quite a ride. It was not at all what I expected. I read The Spell Shop and The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst, I think is her name. Sarah Allender, something. Those were very cozy with like, and library and sentient plants and stuff. And I was like, ooh, maybe this will be like that. It was not like that. It was not like that. It was wild. There were a lot of little rabbit trail plot things that some of them got wrapped up. Some of them I don't think did. Honestly, this book was kind of confusing. It was a little, which I understand what she was trying to do without giving too much away. But it was a bit confusing. So I don't know if I would recommend it or not. It was interesting. It definitely caught my attention. That's why I gave it 3.5 stars. And I thought that the premise of the book was great. But I feel like it needed reined in a little bit. And I feel like the author had a lot of ideas and maybe needed to narrow it down. Maybe needed to like go, okay, which of these do we want to go with instead of being like all of them. also felt a little bit like Downton Abbey fanfic to me, just a little bit. Some of the characters I was like, well, I feel like you might have pulled from Downton Abbey a touch, but yeah, it was interesting. If you're looking for something different to read, maybe give it a try. It does get pretty dark at the end, so if like dark is not your thing, also like not exactly horror, but we are like bordering there. That's not your jam, don't read this. So that was interesting. And that brings us to what I'm currently reading. I'm back to audiobooks. I like quit audiobooks last year for most of the year, and I'm back on the train. So I am just really briefly, I am listening to The Women by Kristen Hanna, which I started January 8th. I'm doing that on Libby Audio. This is going to take a while because it's 14 hours and 57 minutes long. This book came out in 2024. Fun fact, it was the most read book in the library system where I work last year. Hands down, I believe. So I'm excited to continue with it. I don't remember how far in I am, maybe about a third of the way. And it's pretty good. It's about Frankie, who ends up being a nurse in Vietnam during the Vietnam War. So I'll get into it more once I finish it. But yeah, I'm listening to that on audio. And then Mason and I in the car are listening to Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. This is a murder mystery thriller. We started it January 5th. We're doing it on audiobook on CD. It is 9 hours and 17 minutes long, and it came out also in 2024. It's slow going just because we're only listening to it when we're in the car and not every time we're in the car. Like I said, the weather has been really bad the last few days as far as commute. So if the weather is really bad, we don't listen to it. We need to focus on the road. So, but I'm really liking it. It's so well produced. If you are an audiobook person, so far, I would absolutely recommend it. It is incredibly well produced. The female narrator is January Lavoie. I have listened to quite a few books that she's narrated before. She's one of my favorite audiobook narrators, probably of all time. It's really good so far. So if that is your jam, I'd give it a listen. And if you're not an audiobook person, the story is great. Like, I would probably recommend it in print too, but the audiobook is just top tier. And then lastly, in my print read is The Missing Half. Oh, wow. The glare is really bad. There we go. By Ashley Flowers, who is the host of the Crime Junkies podcast. And she also wrote All Good People Here. She does write, I just want to give credit. She does write with someone else, Alex Keister. I don't know how they divide it up the writing. I would guess that Alex goes in and really polishes things, or maybe takes a lot of what Ashley says or puts forth her ideas and actually writes it out. I would guess, but I could be wrong on that. Anyways, I just started this yesterday morning. I am, gosh, how far in am I? I'm 100 pages in, and I like it. So far, I'm not liking it quite as well as I liked her first book, but it's still pretty good. It is about two women whose sisters went missing. One of them, I think, 10 years ago. The other one, 7 years ago. Maybe they went missing the same summer. I don't remember. But anyways, in the book, they went missing in 2012. The book is set in 2019. And basically, they end up teaming up to try to find out what happened to their sisters. So I don't have sisters, but it's a book about sisterhood and family, as well as the genre is mystery, thriller, crime kind of thing. It's set in Indiana. So I do like the Midwestern themes there. I'm obviously reading it in print. I started it yesterday. It's 260 pages long. I kind of want to finish it today, to be honest. I don't know if I will or not, but And this just came out last year. So that's what I'm currently reading. And my phone just let me know that I'm down to 10% battery. So we need to get wrapping this up. Really quick, I just realized I want to get back into adding in my pocket of delight in each episode. And this week's pocket of delight is this little cardinal who was just, well, he was singing away at the bird feeder at work. And I will put a little clip in of him right here at the end of this episode so that you can hear his little cheeps. And yeah, that's my pocket of delight this week, was this little guy. It's been a busy couple of weeks. I went back to work on January 5th. We are in our busiest season for my job. I work at a library. I feel like the library generally tends to be really busy in the winter. We have an adult winter reading program we do, and people are looking for cozy and things to do indoors in my area. So winter tends to be pretty busy. And everybody's coming in with their New Year's resolution of getting a library card or I'm going to read more or whatever. January is always busy. And it's also busy because I am a U.S. passport agent. We do passports at my location. And we go from very few in November, December to like all of our appointment slots being filled in January, February, and March. So, that has kind of exploded. Although yesterday was a very slow day because of the snowstorm, which was really nice to have some downtime. But work has been super busy. And then, we had knit night and we had some family in town that we saw this week. And just life is lifing. And that's, I think, about all I have as far as life stuff. So I hope that wherever you are, that you are enjoying your craft. If you are in the northern hemisphere, I hope that you are cozying up and staying warm. If you're in the southern hemisphere, I hope that you're staying cool. And whatever it is that brings you joy, whether that be knitting, embroidery, crochet, reading, skiing, swimming, whatever it is that brings you joy, I hope you find some time to do that over in your little corner of paradise. And I will be over here knitting away in my little corner of paradise. I will see you next time, friends. Bye.